This one's called Death of a Golden Girl. It is not about Blanche, Rose, Sophia, or Dorothy.
Yeah, it's not the life and times.
It's not the life and
of our girls down in Miami.
No. Miami, you got style. Hi, Julian Benzavalli.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
Fam, before we get to the app, why don't we go ahead and ask you to join us on the Patreon?
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and do exactly that?
If you want more Julian and me, and who could blame you?
You haven't said that in a while.
It's been a while. Join us over in the Pates. At the $5 level, you get like 400 full ad-free bonus episodes.
Yeah.
To download a bit, you get them all right this second. It's all those longer series. So we cover episode by episode, all those things from Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max.
Bad Vegan and Heaven's Gate and that Gacy thing on Peacock and The Jinx and Making a Murderer and The Staircase.
Wild Crime, the ones where
Crime.
like they happen in the wilderness.
Yeah, we did both seasons of that.
It was really good.
Yeah. We just did the Tetris murders.
Yes, there's so much stuff out there. You also get, at the $10 level, you get the regular episodes ad-free.
Yeah.
You get first crack at our live shows.
Yeah.
At the $7 tier, we do after parties where we do AMAs or we'll just do like a catch-up if we haven't seen each other.
Yeah, we'll like give advice or take questions. We'll just hang out.
Should I make a podcast called The Heinz Catch-Up?
Sure. Yeah. But then, you know what? I mean, yes, I support you in everything you do. But then you're gonna have to live with it. No, Heinz, like not the ketchup, not like you haven't had a lifetime of correcting people about your name.
Back in my theater people days when it was theater PPL, I'm like theater with an ER. PPL was my life.
Oh my god.
All right, girl. What are we talking about today?
So this does take place in Miami, however.
Miami, you got stuff.
So this is
Miami
welcome to our
is
bonus.
Nice, so I'll say it thrice.
I caught myself the other day. So sometimes, Fiona, our dog.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say Fiona, and it sounds like how Blanche always says Miami. Blanche doesn't say Miami.
Big, damn it.
She doesn't. All right, big. She doesn't say Miami. She says Miami. And so sometimes when I say Fiona, I channel Blanche a little bit. Anyway, it's welcome to the bonus episodes. It's called Death of a Golden Girl, and it's pretty terrifying.
Blonde and beautiful.
She was a knockout. She was a stunner.
A steamy Playboy model wannabe.
Looking for a golden girl.
And when she arrived on the dance floor, party time.
She actually kind of glowed in the dark.
But this party ended a little early.
He pulled out a photocopy of her earring, and I knew it was her.
A brutal murder that left her boyfriend devastated. And first on the list of people police wanted to interview.
There's a history of domestic violence. He hit her, she hit him.
Case closed? Not after investigators find a secretly recorded video. Her last appearance before the cameras.
When we saw it, we go, wow, it was her.
Was a model's date with death caught on tape.
We do have a deranged, sadistic killer out there.
The still image on the
thumbnail? It's called the thumbnail.
Oh, I am 1,000 years old if I am a day.
I mean, a little bit.
The thumbnail on this is like a beautiful blonde woman holding up like 2 bottles of Grey Goose. Like she's ready to go.
It's a great picture. It's a party girl
I'm
picture.
like, oh my God. It just looks like she was having a lot of fun in her life.
She was. So our host is Dennis Murphy.
Oh my.
Dennis Murphy. Oh my, indeed.
Oh my.
I have some notes for him throughout. You'll hear it.
Yeah.
You'll hear it. It's New Year's Eve 2010. This music is ridiculous.
It's also just like New Year's Eve. Let me just tell you, Steve and I spent a weekend in Miami. We decided to do like a couple's getaway. We dropped off Daisy with the grandparents.
It was the worst weekend. This was horrifying.
It was the worst weekend weather-wise. It was like May of last year or whatever. It was supposed to be like in the 90s. It rained the entire time.
And there was like construction in your room or something?
Construction in our hotel in the room. Oh, it was the worst. But Miami looks lovely. It looks like a nice place. But I don't want to go anywhere on New Year's Eve. I don't want to go to like a big city. Like I am the opposite of the people in this documentary.
Yes, I strongly dislike New Year's Eve also. I just think it's the pressure. I think people put a lot of pressure on like, oh, we got to do it. No,
but it's also everyone's been drinking since noon.
It's impossible to get anywhere.
Mess.
Just go out either the night before or the night after. I promise no one will be out. You'll have a better time.
No, they tell us it was a shivery night by Miami standards.
Low 60s.
Temps in the low 60s weren't enough to chill the South Beach scenesters.
Dennis Just relax.
I'm like, this copy never would have gotten past Keith.
No.
I'm officially on the Keith Morrison writes his own copy.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree completely.
Yeah.
So it's party night in Miami. Paula Sladewski, who's our victim, and her boyfriend, fiance, Kevin Klim.
Yes.
They live together in Detroit, right? And
Kind of, but they also live between Detroit and LA.
Yeah.
They're
not bi-coastal, but mid-coastal?
Mid-coastal or whatever.
But so Paula is our victim here, and she is Kevin's, quote, baby.
That was my baby. She didn't skip on herself, and she liked to live the good life, and going down to South Beach was like, that was it.
And Dennis goes, and she's an aspiring leggy model with hair down to there, to which I say, Dennis, please, we don't have time.
We don't have
Dennis,
time for
get
this.
Your act together.
The thing about Paula is like she just really loved the party life. I'm not saying she was like a party animal or whatever, but she loved the party life. She looked at, I guess I'm saying she's a hot person.
Okay.
And like most hot people like to party, which is why I'm in bed by 8.
Oh, you never had like a couple years where you were a party girl?
I did, but like my partying, this is true. I'm not even trying to be extra gay just for the podcast.
Yeah.
My partying was Monday nights at Musical Mondays at Splash.
Yes.
Where I would go and get hammered on the 2-for-1 cocktails, sing my gay heart out to Patti LuPone, and then end up at the diner at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
That was my party life.
See, I was just going to say, I wish we knew each other during
I
our
know.
party girl days, but we for sure crossed paths.
I'm sure we did.
At like Monster and
Yes.
Duplex and Marie, like all of those piano party places, but also just other, I don't know. I feel like we definitely crossed paths.
I love that we are like the piano party, like blowing it up scenesters.
Yeah, I was never like an uns kind of person.
Kevin and Paula, they call this a down and back.
A down and back. Hit the clubs, do some shots. Hello 2010.
It was great. Like, we had it all figured out. We're going to go down to South Beach, celebrate the New Year's, come back on Monday.
They go down for like 2 nights. They go down and hit the clubs and do the shots, and then they're like back in Michigan by like Monday morning.
That's what you and Steve tried to do in Miami, and it was a nightmare. That's literally, you tried to have 2 nice days to yourself, and it didn't happen.
Oh my God.
But they are more specifically in town for Lady Gaga's show.
Yes.
So,
and it was Paula who heard, and you know where Lady Gaga is doing her show?
At the La Fontaine.
Fontaine Bleu.
The Fontaine Bleu. The La Fontaine, sorry.
The La Fontaine's a Broadway
Sorry, that's a theater. Sorry, everybody.
You're just an old queen. You're just a groggy old queen.
But I was like, no, it's the God Forbid place, right?
Right.
It's the
hot
Fontaine
pool boy.
Bleu, whatever.
I feel like this is about 2010's like about the right time for that.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
You know?
So Paula really wanted to be at Gaga's midnight show. She wanted to be where all the celebs were going to be. Like, that's what they tell us, that it was a really it was a hot ticket, right?
Yeah.
And so Kevin gets the tickets on the street for like $700 a piece.
I mean, that is such a wild amount of money.
Yeah.
They say that he bought them from a scalper.
And thank goodness they were real,
That's
honestly.
what I was just going to say. Like, at least on StubHub, you know they're real.
Yeah.
Or you know there's a way you can get your money back. You know what I mean?
If they're not real,
Yeah.
then StubHub has that guarantee. They're also playing this royalty-free version of Britney Spears' If You Seek Amy. It's like, bum, 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 na, 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 na. And I'm like, at least do a royalty-free Gaga song. And I love If You Seek Amy. That's a great track, but I'm just saying, it's very obviously like, wait a second.
We also learned that somebody behind them at the Gaga concert.
What a fucking creep!
Was totally creeping on them.
Their attendance at the show was even documented by the guy behind them who took iPhone vids of them dancing. Men tended to do that when they saw Paula all clubbed out.
Weirdos do this.
Yes,
they
they
just
do.
start filming them.
Yes.
And somehow, like, Dateline has the footage of, like, them being filmed by a stranger at the Gaga concert.
Because this stranger inserts himself into the story and doesn't realize what a fucking creepo he is.
I know.
But the thing is, it's like, apparently, like, this happened all the time.
Paula, at 26 years old, she's a model.
Yes.
And she's represented by a national agency, but she, like, is based out of Detroit. And they said that, like, she kind of did the rounds for, like, a person who was as beautiful as she was, but, like, didn't live in LA or New York.
Yeah, she did local commercials. She was, quote, the pretty girl at the car show.
The pretty girl at the car
You know,
show.
It's a living.
But nothing really big, quote, until Hef said maybe.
Well,
Now we're going to deal with you, Hefner.
Keith would never. So she auditioned for Playboy, and it's described as this like American Idol style cattle call.
Because it's like a 50th anniversary situation.
Right. So what happens is this is so fucking manipulative
Yeah.
and so Playboy.
Yeah.
But like she made it into the 2003 video for the 50th anniversary of like the ultimate Playmate search or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And she like we see the footage of it and it's like, you know, very Playboy-esque sexy.
Yes.
Whatever that means to you.
Uh-huh.
She didn't make the cut, but they still filmed her.
Yes.
Didn't pay her for it and used that footage anyway.
Yeah.
That is so exploitive. Like they're just exploiting her.
And they film her topless.
Yes.
And then she doesn't make it into the calendar. I'm sorry.
But it's exposure. Like, don't do this, people.
I'm having a flashback to when Natalie and I were on tour for the book party, and we were training Griffin, who was taking over Natalie's
we love
tour
Griffin.
responsibilities. Yeah. I don't remember what city we were in, but Griffin at the end of the show goes, "Can we go to Hooters?" I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And we went to Hooters.
Don't they have notoriously good wings?
Yes, I mean the food is great at Hooters,
right?
And I feel bad looking. This video shoot reminded me. I feel bad looking at the women at Hooters because I don't want to exploit anybody.
You're so nice.
I know.
Meanwhile,
I'm averting my eyes.
Everyone's racist Uncle Frank is there to only objectify and be an asshole.
I know.
I always think of Michael Scott where he's like, "Hey, that's a phenomenal establishment with over 18,000 locations worldwide."
But we also meet Paula's sister.
Still, her sister, Kelly Ferris, remembers Paula being happy she tried it.
There was 500 women and only 50 got to make it on this anniversary type video. So she was proud of that.
Only 50 women made it to the video, and then obviously only 12 made it to the calendar.
Right.
So she made it to the top 50.
But they exploited all those other women.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
So Saturday, January 2nd, 2010, still on vacation in Miami, and they splurged and they moved hotels to be right on the beach.
And I gotta tell you, having been in this area, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's very Art Deco, and the buildings are amazing.
Yeah. Is it where the birdcage is? Or is that, no, that's South Beach.
I don't know. I'm not a birdcage person. I've only seen it once or twice.
Get out.
I know. I just haven't had
But you know my references at least. I can't take it this week. That was the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
I did see it in the movie theater, though.
Ouch.
I saw it in the movie theater.
Ow.
But anyway, the point is, it's beautiful.
Okay, great.
It's very Art Deco. That's all. That's all I have to say here.
Well, they find a bartender, and as Dennis says,
they befriended a waiter and asked him, "What's up?"
Quote, what's up? Dennis, we have to have a conversation.
The way he says "what's up,"
we have to have a
wound it
conversation.
to listen to it.
This is unacceptable behavior.
Unacceptable.
It's unacceptable behavior. And they go to Club Space, or just Space to the locals.
Right.
Miami's hottest after-hours club. It was only open one marathon night a week, from Saturday at 11 p.m. till Sunday afternoon.
It opens at 11 p.m. on Saturday and stays open until Sunday afternoon.
This is Entertainment 720 vibes. They're open. This sounds so stupid.
It's so awful. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be the bartender clocking in at 11 o'clock.
Probably 9, but yeah.
Oh my God! Right, to cut
and that's
your whole.
But your whole week revolves around it.
Yeah.
Because then even later, it's Sunday afternoon when we close up, and I'm like, okay.
I know.
So you get out at 4 in the afternoon on Sunday. Your whole week is fucked.
And I mean,
they better make a good enough money.
That's exactly what I was saying. I hope they make enough money in that one night that they don't have to work the rest of the week.
Right?
They could just be hot in Miami.
But they're probably being hot people by the pool,
Yes.
giving out towels. Their
Totally.
lives are probably just I'm what job am I going to be hot at today?
God, the doors that opens for you in some places.
That's true.
The rest of us have to fight and scratch and claw our ways up to just a regular job like this. Just by being hot and handing out towels, God damn it.
I know, right?
So the night of the murder.
So that night, Kevin says, they had a romantic dinner on South Beach where Paula bought this neon blue dress. They slept for a bit, then woke up and got dressed. Paula did her customary 1-hour makeup thing, and at 5:30 a.m., Paula and Kevin cabbed it to Club Space.
Dennis here, our host, has to throw in a dig about Paula's, quote, customary 1-hour makeup thing.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I am so sick of this, this shame and people talking shit about people wearing makeup or how long it takes or what. It's not for you.
Totally.
Don't worry about it. It
Dennis,
has nothing.
God knows you're not spending an hour on how you look.
It has nothing to do with you. Don't worry about it.
It's so funny because I always think about this with you and me. When we record these for TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And we sit down and you're brushing your hair and you put on no, your hair looks amazing, and you put on a little bit of the what do you call it? The pancake makeup?
No, I put on. You want to know? I'll show you my bag right
what
here.
What is it?
It is. You're gonna laugh. I put this chapstick on.
You do?
Yeah.
But like,
and then I have a brush that in
Yes.
case it's a little shiny. I do
But
a
like,
little
you
bit
instinctively think about your appearance, and I just sit here being
my God.
like, oh God.
You and Steve, all these years later, I love you both, but I'm still like, is this interview on camera? Yes or no? Because I need to know.
And like a lot of men do think about it, but like a lot of men like me just don't ever consider it ever.
Yeah. I have this little bag. It's teeny tiny. It's in every, look how old and disgusting
I
it is.
love that.
But it's in every single bag I carry, like in case.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's my chapstick and my brush. That's it.
But we learned that they get in a cab at 5:30. They had to go to bed to wake up at the time I'm sitting down to start my day.
I know.
To go to the club. 5:30 in the morning.
For what?
I know.
I ask you.
But also, who wants to be partying when the sun is up? I don't get it.
But I think it's just such a
Let's
thing.
just call it a brunch place.
I know.
It's just an early brunch place.
But it is a very surreal thing. I don't know. This is not I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but really when you've walked out of like a night of partying and it's like, tweet, tweet, tweet.
I know.
It's like,
I mean, when I was younger,
it's like 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that it's very surreal. But I think you go for the sake of, it's like going to Lady Gaga. It's like a tourist attraction. It's like something kind of cool to do that you wouldn't do at home. It's a vacation thing.
I'm hung over just talking about it. Do you know what I mean?
1 glass of water for every real drink, everybody. Stay hydrated. Like I've ever fucking followed that advice
I was just gonna
ever
say.
in my life.
We meet Raymond. He's the bartender. And Raymond...
Oh, and the authority on beauty. Thank God he's here to tell us how hot everybody is.
I know!
Paula, in her 6-inch heels, sheer blue dress, and waist-length hair, was a head-turner even to an end-of-shift bartender like Raymond Diaz, who sees lots of Miami hotties.
She actually kind of glowed in the dark. She was so blonde and really tan.
Raymond, we're talking about Miami. Girls like that are a dime a dozen, right?
She stood out, tan, beautiful.
He's like, I've seen a lot of hotties, okay? And I know from hot, and let me tell you, like, yes, Paula is indeed hot. I'm like, thank you so much, Ray. Without you, Raymond, I wouldn't be able to make my own decision on my idea of beauty. Thank God.
But Raymond is saying, because he was really close to Kevin and Paula at the bar that night.
Right.
And so he was describing
like physically close. They weren't like, they didn't like really have a moment.
No. You know what? I love you, man.
Well, they probably did that.
Man. Yeah, totally. But he was just saying that she looked like she like glowed in the dark, he says. Like with the blonde hair and the tan skin, she's wearing this like neon blue dress and her popping blue eyes.
Or as Dennis Murphy says,
Paula Sladewski was boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. To which I say, Dennis, you're in timeout. You're in timeout.
It's in like 28.5.
I took a screenshot of it.
Boom shakalaka.
You're in timeout, girl. You are in time out.
I know.
What's up? Almost got you kicked out of this thing, but you have to sit down.
Boom shakalaka.
Sit down in the corner and have some water
God.
for 5 whole minutes.
This is the part where I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate this part of it for everybody involved.
Okay.
Because Paula is gorgeous. She wants to go out and be gorgeous. Kevin is good looking, but it doesn't matter because he's just a dude in Miami. And so I have sisters. I remember these days, even at the gay clubs, when I was in college, my younger sister Becca would come with me and we would go out and there's tons of straight guys at gay clubs. I love it. I love that they want to come, but like they would be all over my sister, even at a fucking gay bar.
Yeah.
So imagine an after-hour clubs in Miami. You look like Paula. She goes out onto the floor. According to, obviously Paula's not here to tell us, she likes the attention.
Yeah.
And like her and Kevin had kind of a way of dealing with this.
Then I turn around for a second. He's on her, He's got his hand around her waist. He's crotch right up against her. And he's leaning down, kissing. And she's looking over at me like kind of like laughing and like whatever. And I'm like, okay. We gotta go. And I just grab her around the waist and the forearm. I'm like, come on, baby, it's time to go. Do the boyfriend shuffle with her kind of thing. She's like, wait a minute, I don't want to go.
I did the boyfriend shuffle, and he says it like we should know about it. When I Googled that term, I can deduce what it is.
Obviously.
But when I Googled it, the only thing were transcripts of this very episode.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I thought maybe it would be a thing that people would say, but it means that like he's sort of like dancing with her and guys are trying to approach her, and so he's trying to sort of like physically block her.
We're gonna learn Kevin's not the murderer, but he's kind of a dirtbag. So I feel fine saying like he just loves that he gets to be with this hot woman.
Yeah.
And she loves that they get to go to clubs and she gets attention. And whatever. It just, to me, it all feels like it's at a boil and something bad is about to happen.
And it's about to right now. So, like, they start to argue about leaving.
Now, to be clear, he wants to leave because he sees, like, some guy grinding on her and, like, sort of getting too close. And he feels either unsafe for her or he's feeling very jealous. But in any event, he knows he wants to leave. Kevin, you knew this was going to happen. You knew the second you walked into this after-hour clubs in Miami, the men were going to be all over her.
Well,
like,
you just told Dennis that this happens all the time.
Exactly. And so he wants to leave. She doesn't want to leave. They get into, like, a little bit of an argument.
And the bouncers clock this. They notice Kevin immediately, and they circle Kevin, and they kick him out.
Yes.
And Paula's like, great, I wanted to stay anyway, so he can leave. Now, she has her credit card. Kevin takes her phone and, quote, which he always did when they went clubbing.
Yeah.
And Kevin goes back to the hotel with her phone, her only way to contact people.
Now, I have a bunch of things to say here.
Yeah.
The phone thing isn't that weird to me. Like, I've gone out with girls who don't either have purses or they're wearing dresses without pockets.
But you don't leave them without their phone.
No, you don't leave them. But, like, if I got kicked out, maybe I forgot that I had it. Like, I think there's a lot of things happening at once. And then I was mad at the club because I'm like, of course they want to kick him out and let the hot girl stay.
I mean, of course.
But then we'll learn later.
The people at the club said Paula left the club alone shortly after Kevin. Club policy, they say, is to remove both parties after a fight.
They kick the man out first. 5 minutes later, they kick her out. So if he's bothering her and she doesn't want him to know that she also is being kicked out, they give like a grace period. So they're not putting a volatile situation out on the street. He gets kicked out. They wait 5 minutes, then they kick her out. Right. No one says it's a policy, but that's what happens here.
Yeah. See, now what I'm thinking, though, the flaw in that plan is that he could just like lurk around. She should go first. She should go first and get far away or get safe or go home or whatever. And then it's like, she's in the wind. Sorry, buddy. Like, hold him somewhere.
Yeah.
But for him to go first, he could just be like creeping behind a car or something, waiting to get her.
This is why I felt uncomfortable the whole time, because it just feels like something really bad's going to happen, and it does.
And the club, no one is 100% honest on who was kicked out when and why and how and where and what happened. Even the club is like, no. Like, that's how we do it. And someone's not being 100% honest.
Right.
Here.
And so, like, Kevin will tell us that, like, this happens a lot where, like, he'll either get kicked out of a club and go home without her or get tired of being out and go home without her. And she always, like, shows up. But we learn in this instance, if he had just waited 5 more minutes, she would have come out.
Right. And so all we know right now is that it's 7:30 a.m. And we see Paula on the camera leaving the club. She turns a corner and she's never seen again. So it's the next morning and Kevin is sort of like expecting to have woken up next to her because this happens all the time. And Paula's still not home.
Kevin was starting to worry, but he also knew Paula could be a tough Detroit cookie when she needed to be.
She's a big girl. She knows how to handle herself.
She knows what she's doing. Yeah, she's not naive.
She's like a tough Detroit cookie when she needs to be.
Dennis, we've discussed this. Dennis.
But this is where we get a little bit of Paula's backstory, which is like, she kind of had a tough life. We're told she had an absent father and lots of stepdads.
Yeah.
I hate that. It creeps me out. I don't like it at all.
But what creeped me out was that when she was 14, she was dating a 29-year-old man.
So they say dating. This is not called dating.
No,
at 14 years old, she was being sexually assaulted by a 29-year-old man.
Yes.
There's no way in the world that we should be calling that dating.
I agree. She calls it dating. Her mother, by the way.
Her mother has no issue with this.
Until her mom wants to be on camera.
Later, we'll get to the mother.
Like, fuck her mom.
Yeah.
Not in, like, the funny way. I hate this person. Look out for your daughter who's being raped.
She's
God.
literally being raped by a 29-year-old man. It's the sister Kelly who has to call Child Protective Services. This fucking guy gets thrown into prison. He has to register as a sex offender.
His name is David Francis Coleman.
Oh, and then Paula waits until he gets out of prison 2 years later.
2 years later, and gets back together with him.
And she's still only 16. He's 29 years old, and Dateline calls it dating.
I know.
29, and she's 14.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I had that in my notes, too. Fuck that.
Fuck that. And fuck that mother.
But not in the funny way. But right here, Dennis says something to Kelly, the sister, about, like,
that whole little girl fantasy of being the pinup girl or the
Barbie doll.
Shampoo model or something, right?
Yeah.
Paula had this little girl fantasy of being the pinup girl or the shampoo model. I'm like, Dennis, how old are you?
I had the same thought.
What is a shampoo model?
I know.
What is that?
A shampoo model.
Is that like the Pert Plus, like that commercial where you like lather? Remember what was the commercial? There was a shampoo where it made it seem like you like had an orgasm in the shower.
Urge.
Who was that? Was that like Herbal Essences or something?
I don't know.
I don't think it was
But I do think that we're getting like the D string here. I've never heard of Dennis Murphy before. Who the hell is it? Where's Keith?
He's like
Or Andrea
around.
Canning or whatever.
Andrea Canning is coming up soon. But no, he's like around. But this is very like, we don't have to have like a zinger. We shouldn't have any zingers here.
100%.
And the zinger shouldn't always be about our victim.
Yes.
Legs down to there and her, her hour-long makeup routine. Don't worry about it,
What was
Dennis.
the other word? Shada boom, bada bing?
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka?
Oh my God.
What are you saying to me?
I know. And now we learn, too, that, like, growing up, Paula was obsessed with Barbies, and she wanted to be just like her. She wanted to be tall and thin with bleached blonde hair or whatever.
Yeah.
And she, like, collected over 500 Barbies that she collected.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they worth anything now, or are they like Beanie
Some
Babies?
of them.
Yeah?
No, I mean, if, like, the old collector's ones or whatever.
If you kept them in that box?
Yeah. But, the modeling agencies we're told weren't really going for Paula. So she goes to strip clubs and becomes a dancer, and she, like, does really well.
Yeah, she works at the Penthouse Club, and she's making great money. And then Kevin comes along and, quote, accepts that she's a dancer?
I know. I know.
Thanks, Kevin.
I mean, like, how did they even meet in the first? They seem very mismatched to me.
Talk to Raymond, the bartender, about what makes someone hot again, because
I know.
Without you, I wouldn't know. But the reason he accepts this is because she's making a ton of money.
The money from stripping was good enough to allow Paula and Kevin to move to Los Angeles, just in time for the housing bubble to knock his budding mortgage and real estate business into the ditch. Paula kept on dancing and paid the bills. For a few months, they moved back and forth between places in Michigan and California.
So, like, we get this bit here where they're living between Detroit and Los Angeles based on the money that she's making stripping.
Right.
We can call it stripping, right?
I think dancing stripping. I don't
stripping.
know. Yeah.
I'm not saying stripping with any. Good for you.
Yeah.
If I had the body, I would absolutely be a
or
stripper.
like the athletic ability.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Or the coordination or the rhythm.
Or the
looks,
ability to
or
stay up
anything.
after 8 p.m. Do you know what I mean?
That's where we differ.
you got to start somewhere.
That's where we differ.
But yeah, like they're living in Detroit and LA based on her income. His like real estate, mortgage, whatever situation goes belly up.
Would it not be cheaper to just live in one place? Am I crazy? Like,
No,
why?
you're not crazy. I don't understand why you don't just move to LA. Like if she's making a go of it, just move to LA.
Yeah, instead of going back and forth, it seems like there's a lot of money wasted on flights that could be like used for a nest egg or something.
Exactly.
I don't know.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
But we quickly say that like she's been paying all the bills.
Yeah.
Maybe she's footing the bill for this trip to Miami. To which I say then, Paula, if you're paying for everything and you want to go out dancing, then fuck this guy if he wants to go home early.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Her money.
Absolutely.
Her bills are paid.
We're back to the morning after, that Sunday morning where Paula hasn't come home, and now Kevin is panicking. So he goes down to the hotel manager to try to extend the reservation.
Because he also can't pay.
Right.
He can't pay
oh
without
my God,
her.
that didn't even occur to me.
They told us that.
Yeah. He like doesn't have the money to pay without
He can't,
her.
and he can't stay in Miami, so he's like begging people for help, trying to plead his case and say like, look, the love of my life is missing. Can you help me out?
And you know who fucking rises to the occasion? This lady hotel manager who's like, wait a second, what's going on?
Yeah, of course we'll help you.
We need to get her picture on the news immediately. I was like, we need to do her for Let the Women Do the Work.
Right? So she helps him get all these photos,
Yeah.
and like they start the search. And so Kevin, this makes me crazy, as you know. Kevin tries to file a missing persons report, but he can't because it hasn't been a full 24 hours. So
Which, like, again, we need some sort of like national standard for this because it's different everywhere you go.
And this was in what, 2003? I think
2010.
it was 2010. So
I just like
still fuck that. I don't know why the time matters.
what I'm about to say is I mean it mostly as a joke.
Okay.
But like I sort of understand this in a place like Miami where people just get drunk and don't come home for 2 days.
Yeah, still go looking for him. Sorry.
No, I know.
Talk about bubbles bursting.
Don't become a cop if you don't want to go looking for missing drunk people.
Yeah,
you know
like,
what I mean? Like
part
that's
of the
part
gig.
of the gig.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Deal with it. So since he can't file the missing persons report, Kevin uses his time wisely.
Hospitals and jails, I'm calling. Hospitals, jails. Space, hospitals, jails.
Kevin even went back to Club Space, which was closed late Sunday night. He went to a gas station 2 blocks away.
I'm in the taxi. I get out, I go inside, and I talk to the clerk, and I show him a picture of my girlfriend.
I gotta tell you, like, Kevin, I loved him until I realized he was a total shitbag.
Oh, okay.
But, like, I loved him at this point because he seems really committed to, like, doing the right thing, staying up all night, putting up the flyers and the posters and calling the like, doing everything he can to find her.
Yeah, and he goes back to that Club
Yes.
Space, and even though they're closed, he starts asking people in the area, like,
Yep.
have you seen her? And his rationale is like, she's such a knockout. Like, of course, someone would say, like, yeah, I remember that leggy blonde.
Yeah. And like, he goes to the local gas station and shows him a picture. We are only told this, I am convinced, because there's security footage of him doing it.
Yeah.
Somebody found security. They're like, well, say this so we can use this interesting.
This is only a 40-minute ep, so we got to fill the time somehow. So by Monday morning, however, Kevin has hired a PI, David Wasser.
Yes.
And that's when Kevin files the missing persons report, and Dave, the PI, and a cop go to the club.
Yeah, and I kind of like this PI. He's here. He's definitely one of those PIs who loves his job.
That's like
he like loves
the majority of it, and I love that. I think you'd be hard pressed to find like that. What are you doing here?
I know.
It's not like
I feel like that's going to be my third act. Maybe I'll be a PI.
Oh my god, I would do that in a heartbeat.
You know what I mean?
I think I'd be good at it.
Should we open a little investigation company?
Maybe.
If this doesn't work out, we're doing that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
my dad always wanted me to have a backup plan. No, he didn't. But people who are creative, it's always like, what's your backup plan? Yeah. No, I'm not going to be an accountant. I'll just be a PI.
But this guy, Dave, the PI, he's like, he does vetting. Because imagine the cranks you must get in Miami at 2 a.m. You know what I mean? Like any major city. You know what I mean? Like,
her name is Sophia. Their names are Sophia, Dorothy, Blanche, and Rose.
Dorothy's the real crank.
Yeah, like 24 hours a day. Lighten up. But she makes for good TV.
She really does. So the cops are very nice to Dave, the PI. They kind of let him do a ride along.
Sure, yeah.
They go back to the club space. They talk to the bartenders and the manager who had worked the night that this all went down. And like everyone inside the club seems to remember Paula perfectly.
Right.
They're like, she left shortly after Kevin. This is where we learned that it's policy to remove both parties after a fight.
Right.
And I was like, she didn't even leave because she wanted to. Right. She left because she was being thrown out.
She earned that money.
Good
and I mean
her.
that sincerely. But we meet this bouncer, Mike.
Mike Samuels was the front door manager.
She got to the sidewalk. She went around to the right towards the east.
She's solo.
100% by herself.
She was, quote, 100% by herself when she left. So it's not like she met, like, any of the creeps that were following her. Like, he is here to say, no, like, no one followed her home. Like, she didn't leave with a group of guys or anything. Like, she was totally by herself.
I mean, the only problem with this, and again, like, we've run into this in other episodes, the responsibility of the club ends on the last step of the stairs leading out of the club.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're going to learn that, like, yes, she left the club by herself, but immediately met somebody on the street.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Like, the club has no liability, so they don't care. Once she's off the property, technically, she's somebody else's problem.
Right.
So back at the hotel, Kevin, like, doesn't know what else to do, so he calls the medical examiner. And, like, this blew my mind. I've never seen this in a case where, like, a person calls the medical examiner, and the medical examiner is like, oh, actually, wait, hang on a second.
Oh, my God.
And Kevin says, like, that's when his heart dropped.
It's one of those things where it's like, you're calling the medical examiner because you are hoping for an answer, and then the last thing you actually want to hear is, wait, actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we hear those parents, like, I'm looking in, like, garbage dumpsters for my kid, and, like, of course you don't want to, like, then what are you doing here? It's like this weird, like, mind fuck.
But the medical examiner, like, after he gives a description of Paula, the medical examiner's like, sit tight, I'm sending a detective to you.
Yeah.
And that's what he knew, and the detectives show up, and they're like, did she have piercings? And he says, yes. And they pull out a baggie of, like, posts.
Her earrings, her earrings.
Yeah, and he's like, doesn't recognize the post, but then they pull out a photocopy of an earring, and he knew right away that it was hers.
Right.
The earring, Paula's earring, had been found at the scene of a burning dumpster. And inside the dumpster, they found the charred body of a person they thought was a female.
And it turned out to be gruesome beyond belief.
And Paula's body was inside the dumpster. So,
like, having been set on fire. Like, the thing burning in the dumpster is Paula's body.
Oh, God.
It's as fucking awful as you can possibly imagine.
Yeah. So this is where we meet Detective Michael Gaudio, and he's like,
are you related to him?
No. I don't have people in Miami.
That's what you have to say. That's what they tell you to say.
It's true. The mob's, like, huge down in Florida. What?
I'm asking.
What? So he's just saying to us, like, the way she was found, like, there had to be, like, hate and anger involved, right? Like, that's what he's saying. Or
it's somebody trying to, like, destroy evidence.
Right. And so Dennis, our host, is like, look, I got to tell you, Kevin's doing all the right things. He's giving a shit. He's acting distraught. He's being very helpful. And he goes, but on the other hand, he is the boyfriend.
And the last person to see her.
Yeah.
You know?
So as we all know, he should be a suspect.
And he quickly is a suspect. So, like, the cops go and they pick him up at the hotel. They bring him downtown. The Gaudio, the detective, wants us to know the very first thing he did was make Kevin get right out of his clothes.
Right.
We're doing a quick strip search.
They want him for defensive wounds. They want to see what he's got going going on there.
And there's nothing. They see no scratches.
Well, nothing physically, because we do learn that Kevin and Paula didn't have the best relationship.
And this is where everything turns, because Kevin is here, like, putting the best foot forward, and he's a fucking asshole. And, like, what we're going to learn is that, like,
court records in both California and Michigan showed a history of domestic violence arrests between the two. One included Paula's arrest in California for hitting Kevin with a bottle. The case was dropped when Kevin refused to press charges. And in the months prior to the Miami trip, Kevin was arrested twice for assaulting Paula in Michigan. The last time, Paula's nose had been broken.
Both of them are getting arrested all the time for domestic abuse. He's 4 times her size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of
like,
course.
what a
It's disgusting.
dirtbag. Yes.
It's disgusting.
Yes.
So, but remember the fucking creep that was filming them at Lady Gaga's show?
Yeah.
His name is John Williams, and
John Williams, did he write the music for, like, Star Wars and Superman? Da, 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 da. Love your
you
work.
know that. Wait, that's Indiana Jones, isn't it?
Yeah.
Da, da, da,
This is
da,
the challenge.
da, da,
Can you do
da.
Indiana Jones and Superman?
No, Superman I can't do.
I can wait.
I'd be able...
And then that's
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That I know. I know friends who walk down the aisle to that shit.
Stop.
That marriage did not last, but it was a fun party.
Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, that guy's back.
Okay, great. He went on TV because he will go on television whenever.
Yes.
Just to, like, put himself in the story.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you want to be like, oh, I'm that creep? Yes, I was right behind them at Gaga.
The cell phone photographer, John Williams, went on TV and said he distinctly remembered the man who would turn out to be Kevin as someone acting too aggressively in the crowd.
Now, here's this guy who was really obnoxious and pushing through his crowd more so than anyone else I saw there.
I'm not defending Kevin.
Yeah.
But I don't know, John. Those, like, if you're on the floor at a concert, I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
You just get pushed and shoved. And, like, if you were filming them the whole time, where's the video of his aggression? Maybe he was shoving you because you were trying to, like, manhandle or, like, grope his girlfriend. I don't know,
Someone
dude.
tell me why concerts that aren't Indigo Girls concerts are fun. I don't get it.
Oh, they're so fun.
Are they?
You're just missing out.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You know what, I accept
But, like,
it.
when you're in, like, a general everyone's a pushy nightmare. I'm sorry. Like, even at Indigo Girls shows, there's going to be someone where it's like, why are you pushing? So, John, I'm like, Tara, aren't we all here for the same reason?
Totally. Then we get, like, there's an explosive new lead, right?
I guess.
Because it's like, oh, Kevin's a person of interest, kind of, but now we learn that, like, sometime before this Miami weekend, we don't know exactly when, Paula texted, quote, an ex to say he's trying to kill me.
That Kevin's trying to kill her. And this is all, like, allegedly. Like, when did she do this? We don't know. Do we see the text message? No. Where's the ex-boyfriend? Not here.
Right.
We learn eventually that it's that sex offender piece of shit, the rapist, David Francis Coleman.
God, 29, she was 14.
Yeah. Even
what on earth?
Even Dateline Dennis is like, that's all bullshit.
Totally.
That was not a thing. Like,
right.
That didn't really happen.
But in the moment, it really, like, on top of, like, all the domestic violence claims against Kevin, this does not look good for him.
Of course. And now Paula's mother Patsy's here, who didn't care when Paula was being raped with by a 30-year-old essentially, but now she wants to be on TV doing interviews and getting attention.
I hate her.
I hate her too.
The only person here that I really like is Sister Kelly.
Yeah. I know it's like, for the most part, and it's true, like, we know what we don't know, we don't know what we don't know, but I have no sympathy and there's no benefit of the doubt for a mother who didn't call anyone or try to keep her daughter away from this fucking horrible abuser, and the sister had to step in. Like, fuck you, Patsy.
I know.
No,
I couldn't agree more.
From me. You get nothing.
No, and so now, like, they're looking for more information on, like, is Kevin a good suspect? They go back to the club. They talk to the bartender again. And, like, this is where we learn that, like, what happened between them, between Kevin and Paula, was a fight. It wasn't just like he wanted to leave and she didn't. Like, he was trying to, like, pull her out. So, like, it's just more evidence of him being, like, physical with her, which, again, doesn't look good for him.
Exactly. And Ray, the authority on beauty, was right there bartending. So he sees this and immediately, because I think in a place like that, everyone is or should be trained to be on it. If you see one little sign of any kind of thing, because, like, Ray says, like, I immediately call for backup. He didn't even let it explode into something that could have been bigger. He sees a little bit of tension.
I mean, especially when people are, like, starting to arrive at 11 o'clock. Nobody arrives anywhere at 11 o'clock in Miami sober.
Right. And to have,
you know what I mean?
And especially a place like that, the whole point is to party until the sun comes up. So,
oh
like, they have to.
Again, I immediately feel hungover.
I
just,
you
like,
hate it
my
so
face
much.
turns white. I need a glass of water.
I just had so many memories flooding back of leaving places where people are going to work and I'm going home. Oh my God. But the point, like, like couples are always fighting at this place because if they have a policy in place where everyone, like both parties have to leave, not just like if two friends are getting into it, but like both people in the couple have to leave. Like people are fighting here constantly.
All the time. And this is where Kevin says
he felt more like a prime suspect with a star next to his name. Forget about person of interest.
We know you did it. Why'd you do it? We don't think you're a bad guy. Maybe you made a mistake, and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I can't tell you I did something I didn't do.
They really think that Kevin's the guy.
And he waives all of his rights in an attempt to prove that he didn't do it. Never do this, everybody.
I know.
Never waive your rights like this.
He's saying that like he wants them to rule him out quickly so they can go out and find the guy.
No.
But he like doesn't ask for a lawyer intentionally, waives his Miranda rights.
And he's sort of bragging about like, no, like I don't, rights? What rights?
Signed
I don't care.
all the warrants, do anything you want.
Never do this. Never, ever.
And it's also like, but can we have like, if there's two cops on this case, can't one be interviewing me and the other one out looking for the killer?
Sure.
Do they both have to be in the room? Can't we do both things at once?
Maybe like a third cop somewhere that we just don't know about? That
It's
Dateline
Miami
didn't tell
only
us
has
about?
2 cops.
Okay, great.
That's it.
That's it. So Dave Wasser, PI, is out doing his own investigation. Remember, he was hired by Kevin?
Yeah.
And so he's outside the club at 7 a.m. It's packed.
Yeah.
He's speaking to people outside. He's filming them. He's handing out flyers. And now the cops are just like, all right, Kevin probably didn't do this. Like, they had a shitty relationship. He's not great, but I don't think he's a murderer either.
No, and like this is where older sister Kelly shows up in Miami, and like she's saying, I know the cops like don't love Kevin. I totally believe him. She says
he shouldn't have left her, and he's got to live with that the rest of his life, and he's devastated about that. He's taken that really hard. He wants to kill himself. It's what he talks about all the time.
He's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life.
Right.
And he says that again later, but she just doesn't believe that he did this.
No. And so, like, she's also down there to help out with the investigation. And she's the one who echoes what you were just saying. It's the drinking.
Yeah.
When they drink, they are horrible people and horrible to each other.
And also, like, we learned that Paula was on prescription weight loss pills.
I know.
And she, like, Kelly was saying that it just wasn't interacting well with alcohol.
Of course. I mean,
it just,
no.
it's a bad all around. We had learned earlier that at one point, Kevin broke Paula's nose in one of the altercations. The only thing Kelly does here that I don't like is she shrugs it off. She's like, from what I heard, that was an accident.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
That's just like enabling an abuser. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Just don't do that. Ask for the lawyer. Don't enable the abuser. Are we done here?
I mean, you should, and don't let your kid be raped by a 30-year-old.
Yeah. I feel like we did it today.
It seems really simple.
I know. I hope everyone's writing this down.
Yeah, God, especially you, Dennis. No, I think just don't like your choice of words sometimes.
Boom shakalaka.
Like, what are you saying to me right now, Dennis?
Boom shakalaka.
Like, we're in the middle of a crisis.
I know.
So let's go through the camera footage. Club Space had 30 cameras.
But none outside showing the sidewalk. Most were aimed at the bar cash registers to keep the employees honest.
To make sure they weren't stealing.
So, like,
come on.
I'm glad you have these policies in place or whatever, but, like, get with the fucking times.
Just put a camera on the dance floor and one outside the club. That's all we're asking.
If you have a policy or whatever, loose policy in place that, because there are so many fights, have cameras on the street so that you can help someone out if they're in trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
And also just go cashless. If you go cashless, you don't have to worry about the bartender stealing.
That was a pre-cashless world.
I know. But they do find one security camera above the door that does have 7 seconds of Paula leaving the club.
There's like the line that goes in and the line that goes out.
And once again, it's 2010. Like, why is this film black and white and so grainy that you can't see anything?
Yeah.
How anybody identified Paula? They're like, this blob going out is Paula. What?
Yeah.
How can you tell?
Kind of blonde blob. She's blonde, right?
Exactly. And they also have from 5 minutes before that Kevin leaving.
Right. But apparently Kevin's on the tape begging bouncers to let Paula go so that they can leave together.
They're begging the bouncers to go talk to Paula.
Right.
And say, like, please get her to come with me. And the bouncers go and come back and they're like, she wants to stay, bro.
Right.
You gotta go.
But then she leaves 5 minutes. Like, what are you, wait.
She gets kicked out 5 minutes later.
Like, what?
I know.
Like, that is not clear, and that should be made clear,
But that's
right?
what I was saying. To me, it feels like a policy. Like, we're not going to kick them out at the same time, because if she really wants to get away from him, we're going to give him 5 minutes to leave and then kick her out.
No, that makes sense, because I guess they don't know the story. Anyone could be like, that's my girlfriend.
Exactly.
And they could be like, fuck you, everyone's girlfriend is in there, buddy.
That's where it felt to me like a responsible policy. But you're right. If that is the thing, that she should have been kicked out first.
Right, because if their responsibility ends the minute you walk out of that club, then that guy can be creeping around the corner waiting for her.
Exactly. And so, like, this is where we get, like, interviews with the head of security for an hour, and he's saying
he saw both Kevin and later Paula leave alone. But he and others have added an important new observation. something not seen by this blinking security camera up here. The club security chief said he did see Paula walking away with someone once she was on the street. And that person wasn't Kevin Klim.
He saw her take another man, like hand in hand, and walk off towards a parking garage.
And it wasn't Kevin, the boyfriend.
No. And they described this man that she left with as a light-skinned African-American male with a full-grown beard, well-built, around 6 feet tall. But also they describe it as though they knew each other because they were hand in hand like boyfriend and girlfriend.
All right, Grandpa.
Well, speaking of Grandpa, what's the grandpa's name? What's the host's name?
Dennis.
Dennis says to the head of security.
And you didn't see an abduction. You don't see a rag of chloroform or something, and I'm making it up.
So you're saying you didn't see like a rag of chloroform or anything?
Girl.
Out did not come the chloroform.
Not on my watch. Dennis, we've discussed this. You're still in time out as far as I'm concerned.
Can you imagine a guy lurking outside a club with a bottle of chloroform and a rag?
You know what? Yes.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like, yeah. Unfortunately, I've been burned way too many times.
And especially
before.
like if the club policy is that like our responsibility ends at the bottom of the staircase. Bye.
And they let the creeper go first.
I know.
So that they have eyes on the club and can get her when she's alone and drunk. Like, Yep. Thanks, club space.
Totally.
Add that to the list of places I will not be visiting.
So in talking about the video, because Kevin has now seen the video, and he says,
I see her walking out, and the bouncers eye her go out. I see 3 or 4 people follow right behind her. There's one guy that's kind of right behind her, could be with her, I don't know. She walks out of frame, and then immediately after, the 2 bouncers just like immediately, they go out after her. That's what I see.
They did rather quickly follow her out.
But Kevin is also saying, like, no, like, she's been working in clubs in Detroit and California. Like, she can read men well. She can read people well. She would never just willingly walk off with some stranger thinking, like, oh, they must be nice. Like, he's like, her whole life is working in clubs. Like, she kind of knows how this thing goes.
Which is why it's a red flag to see the security guys sort of follow her out. And the investigators say, we've talked to all the employees that are on the tape, and we have not ruled anyone out conclusively.
Right.
And Kevin is, like, wondering out loud if there wasn't a conspiracy to like get rid of the schlubby boyfriend so they would have like complete access to the hot girl.
Because they didn't escort Kevin out like that 5 minutes prior.
Right. But the head of security, like, he sounds like he takes his job really seriously. He's here walking us through the club.
Yeah.
And he's like, that is total bullshit. He's like, what you're seeing on this tape is us doing our jobs. The man who's like directly behind her, that's me escorting her out. And the 2 guys the 2 security guys that jump up, they're not following her, they're following me. Like, that's the protocol of the club.
Yeah.
You follow me out in case there's a further altercation on the street. Like, I think this club has got the protocol down.
They also say that everyone that works there is accounted for because they're tracked by their fingerprints.
Yeah.
Like, instead of clocking out, they like fingerprint out.
Yeah. And you know what? I kind of like this. Like, if you're going to own a club there, you got to take this security shit very seriously.
I think there has to be a different level of security for places like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think any place where people are going out and people are drinking and under the influence and could possibly be left by themselves or something, like, I just think we need to up all of that.
And this is where the head of security says, like, also.
Samuels emphasizes that the bearded black man Paula was seen walking away with had not been in the club that night. Why not? Because of the club's strict dress code.
He was wearing shorts. Our number 1 rule, no matter how much money you have, we do not allow you in shorts.
No matter how much money you have, our number 1 policy is no shorts.
Yeah, that's also, we've done this with Chippendales, though. That's also like a way to be racist without being racist.
Yes,
like using the dress code against people, just like.
I agree, but at least in this instance, we know that means he wasn't in the club.
Right. So now it's 2 weeks after the murder.
Yeah.
And the employees say that the killer came back to the club. So
like,
they're
just
saying
brazenly standing outside the club again. They all see him. I'm like, how'd you know it was him? Was he wearing the same pair of shorts?
And I'm like, or was this just like a black guy trying to go to your club?
Because
like, I don't get it.
I know. And this is all very unclear because they call the owner of the club is here to say, like, we called the cops. They come out and question the guy and they let him go because either this is the guy they saw with Paula and he's not the killer, or this isn't the guy they saw with Paula, but they don't make it clear which one of those it is.
I wish they would just say, we don't really like when black people are in our club.
I know.
Like, it feels very like, oh, what? Like,
I know.
Because it's not explained. It doesn't make any sense. And the cops are like, this isn't him. Why'd you waste our time?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second. club space.
Yeah, and then like Kevin has to leave Miami 10 days later. Like he doesn't have Paula making money for him anymore. He's got to go. He goes back to Michigan where he pleads guilty to one of the misdemeanor assault charges and is given probation.
Yeah, and one of the other charges are dropped.
Kelly, the sister, also has to go home, but she comes back to Miami 4 weeks later to keep the case going, like to keep it in the news.
She meets up with Dave, the PI.
Yeah, and she puts up $15,000 of her own money as a reward, and the club matches it.
Yeah.
So there's a $30,000 reward to find out what the fuck happened to Paula that night.
Yeah, but so the cops say there's now a sketch of the killer.
Yeah.
The club employees had only glimpsed the man from the back and side. Now there was a new witness, police won't say who got a better look at the man from head on.
But there's an unnamed witness who saw him like straight on.
All right, sounds a little shady, but fine.
A sketchy sketch?
A sketchy sketch. But Kevin says the sketch looks like a bouncer at the club, so Kevin's back down in Miami.
This is so like conspiracy theory. Like Kevin is convinced it's the bouncer who checked their IDs on the way in.
All of a sudden, he's like, I know exactly who that is.
Kevin's also there wearing a newsboy.
Wait! He goes, quote, undercover, which is just Kevin wearing a Newsies cap. I was like,
I know. Have no fear. Brooklyn's here.
Detroit is here.
I know.
Says Kevin.
He looks ridiculous. He's undercover, but like has a Dateline camera crew with him out in front of the club.
In front of you could see people coming out because it's like 4 p.m. on a Sunday when the place closes.
And he's just saying
wearing
that like
his like blue newsboy cap.
The only thing that makes sense here is that he's like, this is the exact moment that Paula went missing on like the day that we were here.
Right.
It's a zoo. Like somebody would have seen her. Like why hasn't anyone come forward like remembering seeing her outside and like knowing who she walked off with?
But honestly, like no one else is looking at anybody else.
I know.
When you leave a club and you've been drinking for 10 hours and it's
7
in the
morning and you're like, I should have listened to my gay friend Patrick.
Like
I should have just gone to bed last night
like the
at
most
8:30. Watching Steel Magnolias with a
dozing off
bottle
to the
of white
Golden
wine.
Girls, like please. But like, and at that point, everyone just wants to find their people and get out of there. I don't care how gorgeous the human being in front of you is. You kind of are just like, that's great. I'm tired. No one is thinking about that.
The other thing that Kevin says is that like
the entire security crew's gone. Different security altogether. From the door guys to everybody is different in there. They changed out the entire staff pretty much, especially the security crew.
Baloney, responded the club owner.
Everyone's gone. It's a massive conspiracy.
As Dennis says, baloney, responded the club owners. Baloney. They have the pay stubs to prove it. So, Kev, I don't know.
I wonder if his mother was a shampoo model.
I just feel like that's the pose, right? Like lathering, looking over.
A shampoo model.
What is a shampoo model?
And, it just kind of ends. I was shocked how quickly it ended. Like, I know. All of a sudden, we're standing out like by the dumpster where her body was found, and there are no fucking leads.
There's no leads at all.
How is there no leads in this case?
Yeah, I don't understand. I really don't get it. And I think it's tragic and heartbreaking that someone who was like trying to do like just hearing about like the diet pills and stuff. And she was just like in a world that can be very scary, but she like made all this money and she just wanted to go out and have like a fucking awesome party weekend.
Yeah.
And it was ruined because people are dicks.
Because people are dicks. Oh my God, girl, we did Dateline. What's it called?
The Death of a Golden Girl.
The Death of a Golden Girl.
Yeah.
It's so sad. I'm going to do a Google alert for this case. I need to know if there's any updates.
I know, me too.
Fam, join us on the Patreon if you want more Jillian and me. Over 400 full ad-free bonus episodes. Can you believe it?
I can and I can't.
Every series, there's the Lacey Peterson one, the Gacy thing on Peacock.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of like, what have we done? Oh, Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
The Tetris murders.
Yep. Fatal Attraction murders.
Yes. And then there's all like the old stuff like Serial and The Staircase and Making a Murderer and the Jinx.
The Jinx.
Oh my God, the Jinx.
Lorena,
yes. Oh my God. Don't F with Cats.
Don't F with Cats.
Tiger King.
Yeah, well, only the first season. We're not doing the second season of that bullshit.
Oh,
Or maybe we will.
Tiger King.
Oh, The Vow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the Heaven's Gate. Now we're just going to sit here for an hour and name them all. Fam, we love you so much. Thank you for making this our jobs. We haven't said that enough lately.
Yeah, and this is, our gift to you. We love doing these bonus eps for you.
Oh my God, it means we're close to Christmas.
Yes.
And Thanksgiving, my favorite time of year.
Wait, is it October right now?
Yes, it's October.
In the future?
It's in the future. It's October.
God, you guys, it's June here.
Fam, we love you. Bye.
It was nearly 2 a.m. Terrified residents of the Leafy complex were ducking behind their windows and calling 911 to report shots fired. Corporal Kelly Richards was among the first on the scene.
Gunshot wound to the cheek, She was dressed very nice. I knew who this person was.
Richards realized she'd spoken with this woman a few weeks earlier, right here at the Paladin Club condos. The woman was Olga Connell.
And one of my fellow officers let me know we have a second body.
She leaned over and took a closer look.
Olga's husband.
The couple had been murdered together in a hail of bullets right in front of their home. How many shots fired?
Close to 25 shots, 2 different types of ammunition.
2 shooters, a team of assassins. That's the backdrop for what came next.
She's the fun, loud girl.
Yes.
So, like, even if you didn't see her at first, you're like, who's the person having the most fun in the room?
See, I'm the fun, loud girl without the legs down to there and the hair down
legs
to here.
Down to there. Dennis, please.
Maybe my next book will be called The Fun Loud Girl.
The Fun Loud
I
Girl.
really love that as a title, The Fun Loud Girl.
That's good. Good one. You're welcome.
Did I tell you that I'm going to Mariah Carey for her Christmas show this year?
You are.
I'm going.
That's so. Did you get the tickets, or are you just saying that
I'm
you're
just
going?
saying it. I'm manifesting it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll have a great time in a couple of weeks from now, probably, right? I had a friend who used to call a situation like this being a hot cheeseburger in a pool full of piranhas, where they're just like chomp, chomp, chomp.
I've got the urge.
She's got the urge to burble.